Hello and welcome to Nikon Report, your weekly roundup of all the latest Nikon news and all other photographic announcements that we found interesting. It's Konstantin here.
This is Becky.
Whoop whoop, number 35. We haven't been here for 3 weeks now?
This is, we missed 2 weeks of podcasting.
All right, so this one's going to be quite beefy, isn't it?
It's going to be a chunky report, so brace yourselves.
2.5 hours?
God, I hope not.
Yeah, 3 hours.
Don't think I'm going to last that long.
But after that, we'll release a director's cut as well, which will be 4.5 hours long.
3 days long.
Exactly. Comes out on Blu-ray next year.
So shall we start?
Yes, so let's start with Z9. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so let's cover all that and then move on to the rest of the show. Yeah?
Okay.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Z9.
Okay. that was it.
Yeah, now with this out of the way, let's move on for the rest of the show then. Okay, I think the important one, the one I've been talking about for years, this podcast hasn't been out for a year, but for years I was saying that Nikon should release FTZ 2, and it looks like Nikon rumors kind of got a confirmation from several sources this week. Well, earlier last week they said, I've got a tip.
Yeah, they said that they have multiple sources confirming the rumor. So FTZ Mark II apparently has been confirmed. Not by any official Nikon source, just so you know. But the new adapter will supposedly have a redesigned body.
Okay.
Possibly without the bump at the bottom.
The little tripod foot. I can imagine that. So it's not really tripod foot, but it's a little bump there with a tripod mount.
It's very annoying.
Exactly. And I think when you put it on the tripods, especially if your plate is quite long, like one of those large Arca Swiss plates or something, it may interfere with that.
Yeah. You can't, for example, mount a body onto a tripod if you've got the FTZ. Mm-hmm. on. So if you are using a smaller lens and you'd rather mount it from the lens. Anyway, it's awkward is basically what it is. It's
a weird thing, that FTZ adapter. But let's go to speculations. Obviously, the main one that we were talking about for years, is the support of AFD lenses. So
yes.
Those that are driven by the motor inside the camera. So FTZ adapter doesn't have one. So it seems like they will introduce one inside the FTZ adapter.
I mean, it certainly would be nice if they did. The thought is that it might come out around the same time as the Z9, whenever that may be.
And that's the reason why bump might disappear as well. Because if you imagine Z9, it has a built-in grip.
Yes.
So I wonder if that bump interferes with the Z9 design. Who knows?
That's a possibility. That's all I have to say on that.
Well, I have several possibilities because obviously we wanted to support AFD lenses.
Yes.
Yeah. So that could be option number one. So maybe slight improvements in terms of electronics, so maybe support or better support for, let's say, AFF type or continuous type of focusing with AFS type lenses, and then D lens support. So that could be a nice thing to happen. Now, option two could be a cheaper version of FTZ adapter. So just redesign electronics, remove the bump, make it cheaper. So that's another way that Nikon could go.
It's very true because $249, which is the recommended retail price on that one, or the suggested retail price, is quite high for an adapter of that type.
But the interesting thing I think about this, when you buy it with a camera, it's effectively about 100 to 150 pounds. So I wonder if it's some sort of loss leader to introduce, people into that system without upgrading their lenses.
Potentially.
Or it could be that the margin on the adapter by itself is so high. So again, two ways it can go. But my question is as well, is who it will be aimed for? Because obviously professional photographers, let's say, who use professional lenses, they're already up to date. They would have AFS type lenses, so if they ever need to. So long lenses can be used by FTZ adapter. So the only way to appeal to them is actually, yes, improve the electronics inside the adapter to improve autofocus speed of F-mount lenses. Now, the D lens support is not that important to professional photographers. It's more important to enthusiasts and hobbyists who have a long range of, let's say, older lenses that they want to try on the camera. And obviously, support of autofocus on D lenses would be nice to have.
It would.
Where does it go then?
That's a good question because the Z system has been out now for enough years that I think the necessity for a D lens compatibility has kind of been removed by the fact that those who will have wanted the Z system will have already bought it and already potentially relegated their AFD lenses to either part exchange or that they'll only work on certain bodies. However, I'd like it to happen, saying that I have use some of the third-party AF adapters.
Yeah, the Mega Depth.
That's the one. And the focusing is very slow. So if the FTZ2 were to come out, I'd hope that it would be an improvement on that.
Well, technically, obviously, the DSLRs have the built-in motor built into the camera. So potentially you could have a version of that design implemented inside the adapter. Obviously, it may make it a little bit bulkier, but who knows? Obviously, the adapter itself is already quite large because you need to have quite a spacer to adapt the focusing, the distance between the sensor and the lens.
Yeah.
So that could be that. But once we're talking, if it's aimed at amateurs and then potentially, yes, we got the D support lens, but then it will make the adapter more expensive. So that's where my concern is, because professionals would be happily pay higher price for FTZ adapter, but then hobbyists may not, because they say, well, it does what I want, but it's too expensive now. So again, I'm not happy. So you can't, like, where do you go, Becky?
I don't know.
I just had a chocolate downstairs. That's why I'm so enthusiastic right now. So I'm
down. Like, I need to finish my coffee before.
And it only goes up from here.
Woo. Okay.
So where do you go from there?
It's a rhetorical question. I don't have an answer. I don't know.
So we ask you, the viewer, to tell us, where do you think Nikon will go with this? What would you personally prefer? And obviously, if it's a D support lenses and a higher price, would you be happy with it? Or you would prefer maybe a version 2 of the same adapter without D support lenses, but cheaper?
I think that's a good question to ask, and let us know your answer. Next up, Nikon are set to release, supposedly, a 40mm f2 lens very soon, according to Nakashita reports.
So what they say is Nikon store in Japan, the Nikon Direct, have updated their listing on their website for 40mm. So that basically means that they're preparing for the release of the lens. So I don't know if it's going to come out. To be honest with you, the development announcement back in June for 28 and 40mm lenses kind of said that they're coming soon. So I wouldn't be surprised.
No, but at the same time, we would expect to then see both lenses. I understand that the 28mm came out with the ZSC as a special edition, but where is that non-special edition 28mm? That's the one I really care
with the
about.
modern casing.
Yeah, with the more modern
design. I do care about the vintage one.
The vintage one's nice, but at the moment it's only available in Japan and the US.
Yeah, so if you want to be really stealthy with your Z50, that would be nice. Okay, well, I will, spoiler alert, there is some news on 28mm later in the podcast.
Ooh.
So that may help you. But let's just talk about 40mm for a change. So it's 40, 2.8, yeah? When you buy your FTZ with 28mm, what do you pay for the lens when you buy them together? Is it about 250, 300 pounds?
Yeah.
So I assume that the 40mm would be priced around the same. My guess would be between 300 and 350. What's your guess?
I mean, if it's supposed to be pegged as a new sort of 50mm equivalent, because what we don't have in the Z system is we don't have a small compact 50mm 1.8.
That's true, which is 650 pounds or so, isn't it?
Exactly. So the 50 1.8 is more like a 1.4. It's priced even higher than the G-Type 1.4. We've got loads of 50s in the Z lineup. We've got the 50 MC, which is a great lens and not very heavy. So that's become my new kind of standard lens.
That's true. They got 1.2.
Yeah, 1.2, which is definitely not a lightweight lens. So I'm wondering if the 40 is trying to fill that gap of small, compact, lightweight, but not another 50 because we've already got so many 50s.
That's true.
How do they make the lens physically smaller? They make it not an S-line lens. Originally, these were called on the roadmap pancake lenses. So they were designed to be small.
Yeah, very fat pancakes.
Super fat pancakes, like triple decker pancakes. And the American style pancakes, not the French style.
Yeah, with some honey and blueberries.
Or maple syrup if you're going, and some creme fraiche.
Bunch of bacon on top.
Are we just going to talk about food now? I think, okay, anyway, so.
I agree with you, 40 is new 50. Remember when we actually talked about the development announcement for the lens and we said, what is 40? What is this focal distance? And then the viewers and listeners kind of pointed out to us that actually Voigtlander used to do those, even Leica and some other brands.
Yeah.
And you know what? I, since then, got a Mamiya 7, which I kind of wanted to buy for like 10 years. I couldn't afford one, and I still can't, but I got one. So,
got one anyway.
And it came with an 80mm lens, which is equivalent of 40 or 39mm focal distance.
Right, yeah.
And you know what?
You really like it?
I really like it.
Wow.
And you know why? Because it's, let's say, not as kind of close as 50 mil. So, but it's also not as wide as 35 or 28 mil. So it's kind of in the middle because 35 is nice, but sometimes you do get a little bit of distortion. So with kind of 40 mil, you eliminate that, but still keeping the frame fairly wide. Overall, as a kind of all-rounder, I prefer 40 over 50 now. And that's kind of my experience in the last 2-3 months.
Interesting. So, well, when are we going to see it, do you think?
Well, my guess before Christmas.
It'll be a great Christmas present lens if it is at that price point that you're suggesting.
That's true because it's not that expensive, isn't it?
It's not too expensive. I'd like it to be a bit cheaper, but I can see that could be quite popular because on a DX camera, it's going to be a 60, which is also a nice focal length for sort of semi-portraiture.
More of a portrait, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then, remember 51AD, which was about £100, and then 51.8G lens, which retailed between 150 and 200, depending on the year.
Yeah.
So I assume, if you're looking at something like £300 ballpark, it would be a nice lens to get as a first lens for your camera.
Yeah.
Especially if you're starting with a full frame, let's say Z6 or Z7 Mark II or Z5, which we're going to talk about later as well. So I think definitely this autumn, who knows, because I have some good news on 28 for you later.
Okay, good. See, the viewers learn at the same time as I do what's happening. I don't know the news until I sit down to read it.
We experience things almost live.
Exactly. I like that. So I just keep the same vein as the live streams.
Okay, well, the good news is the next news will bore you to death. Okay. So the excitement is gone. Nikon published their report for 2021. It's finally out, so far only in Japanese.
I saw that. And I was quite grateful that you couldn't read it.
Well, I've looked at it. The cover was in English, so that's kind of got me going. So absolutely, trust me, downloading 300 megabytes on Photo London Wi-Fi was amazingly slow. But thanks to Nikon Rumors, who ran the PDF file through Google Translate, don't know how, but there are a few tidbits that we found in this report. So let's start with things that are interesting to us. So it's photography, videography, and obviously finance. So obviously. So I think it's important to know what financial shape the company that you like is in, isn't it? So because there's a lot of people say, well, it's doom and gloom, and then you look at the spreadsheet with all the finances and you say, they're good for another 10 years.
But you know what's funny is that, okay, we've been working actively in this industry for over 10 years. And have people not been saying that since the beginning? Like, you can ask Gray. He'll say people have been saying that for 20 odd years. Anyway, so look, don't listen, folks. Just
absolutely.
Look at the facts. Don't listen to the rumors.
The end is not nigh. Okay, let's go to the camera thing. So they talking that in fiscal year ending March 2022, so they will release a high-end professional models for hobbyists and enthusiasts as well as professionals. So we're talking about Z9 obviously here.
Yes.
So they're talking models in plural. I don't think this will be the case for high-end thing, but
middle and high-end.
Exactly. So, and then they're talking about releasing 30 Z lenses as well. So we have 22 out now.
Okay.
So there's still 8 lenses. So 40 mil is one of them.
Yes.
On the lineup that they should release.
Does the 22 include the 28 mil?
Good question. Well, technically 28 is out, but not on its own.
I know.
Well, at least in our region here.
This is the question. This is the important question. One day someone's going to send me one of those 28 mils. Send it to me, please.
Well, you saw it at Photo London, isn't it? So It was nice.
It's very nice.
But you know what? I'll take 7 lenses, even if a 28 is there. So it's still absolutely fine for me.
It is a good number of lens releases. I would love to have more. They've also said an entry-level model, which is quite exciting. So they're planning to keep the prices down while strengthening the video functions. And to increase the number of young customers because we're all just too old for Nikon.
I know.
They want the youngsters.
That's true. So we're talking Z30, right? So that's a good thing. And then with a better video as well.
Which would be great.
So all those enthusiasts, influencers, content makers and creators.
Yeah.
Twitcher users, you name it.
Twitcher.
What did I say?
Like you said Twitcher is what you said. It's called Twitch.
Okay.
I mean, Twitcher is like a combination. It's a new platform designed by Con.
Okay, so it's a Twitcher and Twitterer.
Twitter and Twitch mixed together. Twitcher. Next, you're going to be like a Tikstagrammer.
You heard it first, right here on this podcast.
It's so cool.
It is. It is. And I think we all should invest in this. Not financial advice, of course.
No. So anyway, they are also planning to provide software that supports the creation of video expressions.
Ooh,
I'm sorry, I had to do this because
I
it's
would
so
like to express myself in video.
It reminds me of something from my performing arts school, like video expressions.
Well, didn't they have some sort of Nikon video maker or something like this?
Well, NX Studio does have a video editor.
How good is it, Becky?
I haven't used it.
That's very good. So hopefully there will be more to come. That is better. But I know that you're really good at editing videos on iPhone.
Actually, I did it on my computer, not. But yes, I do edit videos on my iPhone, not Nikon videos. Let's not go there.
Yeah, I do cheat sometimes. I use proper computers to edit videos.
Yeah.
Okay, well, in video side of things, they said that they've launched a restructuring in 2019 in their video business. Mm-hmm. So that's still ongoing, but that just means that they're trying to improve the technology with regards to video and DSLRs as well as mirrorless system, and I assume that mirrorless is the way to go here. So obviously Z9 is rumored with 8K and very fast read sensor, which will allow for very high frame rate.
Mm-hmm. Now up to the R&D section, optical technology, material technology, and mathematical technology, including AI, are important elemental technologies in growth areas as well. So they're going to increase R&D by 35%?
No, to 35%. So I think
35%.
Yeah, I think it's about 23, 22.
Oh, okay.
At the moment. So what they say is I
was going to say, because by 35% is quite a lot.
No. But it just means that they are still investing in research and development, which is very good. And just they're talking about, obviously, this new CMOS stack sensor that's potentially being used in Z9. Mm-hmm. They're talking about the sensor that's been designed for production, for the industrial use. Remember that one that can almost see in the dark?
Yes.
So they talk about that as well. And then, obviously, they talk about finances. The favorite section of ours. And obviously financially they talk about, it's been a hard year, which ends in 2021. They still looking at COVID problems that affects the supply, the manufacturing, closure of the factories, etc. So again, in Asia, COVID is spreading rapidly again. So they're looking at all those possibilities and they say, well, we're not
out of the woods yet.
Exactly. So, but they're hoping that this year actually will be better. Just due to the launch of new products and lenses.
Excellent.
The next one up, Nikon announced some rebates for September in the United States. They have 3 full-frame lenses that have some discounts off. So 35 1.8G lens has $50 off, 85 1.4G lens $150 off, and my favorite 105 1.4E lens $200 off. Now, they also have a discount on Z7 with 2470 kit, which is now retailed in B&H and Adoramas of the world for $3,096.95 plus tax in those shops.
Nice. So that's a $300 discount.
$300.
Impressive. Well, in the UK this week, we have quite a short promotion on the Z5. All variants, bodies and kits are discounted by £270. So if you are in the UK or in Europe and you would like to purchase a Z5, then you immediately get that money off. That runs until the 22nd of September. So it's quite a short one on that one.
Absolutely. For our European viewers, do check your local country discounts as well, because there's some discounts of Z5 as well in Europe.
Yes, you can buy from us, by the way, if you're in Europe. We obviously deduct the VAT and then you pay whatever your VAT is in your local country. Just FYI. Don't scare off the European customers.
That's true. Shall we just ask Nikon just to send the item from Holland directly to them?
It would be great if they would do that. Drop ship for us.
Absolutely. Well, now we're going to move to ZFC coverage.
Yay!
That retro camera that came out very recently from Nikon, and people tend to kind of enjoy it and like it. So
crazy popularity and not enough supply, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One thing I heard from people who bought this camera, and we saw a couple of people at Photo London, they just said 2 things I've heard: fun and joy.
Fun and joy.
Fun and joy. Well, from different people. Right. Some say it's a fun camera. Some say I'm just enjoying it so much.
Right, like
it's so just fun to use, So, and that's not something that you generally hear about the piece of hardware, isn't it?
No, but after we did our little walking tour, which has yet to be edited, but I'll probably end up doing that one.
You mean the one that's...
The Brick Lane one.
Oh, the Brick Lane one. Okay,
that
yes.
hasn't come out yet.
Yes.
That video, I used the ZFC for most of the day there and you were using the DF, right? And then we did our little swap over.
That's true.
And I have to say, I really enjoyed using the ZFC. I mean, obviously I'm used to using the Z50, the Z6. I have no consideration on using Z cameras for just day-to-day photography, but I really enjoyed it.
You know, the funny thing at Photo London, there's a Nikon booth, right, where they're editing the pictures for Noir. This guy comes in, he walks in. He said, what's this? Oh, it's ZFC, sir. And the guy says, he took his DF out, say, I have a proper camera. And he walks away, right? Okay. 3 hours later, the same guy comes in, puts his ZFC on the table, saying, all right, tell me about ZFC.
Yeah.
So he thought about it for 3 hours.
He did.
And he knew that he has a proper hardware, as he said, you know, but then he was still thinking about ZFC, and he came back and he wants to try it out.
That's amazing. They actually had, I think, 5 ZFCs at Photo London. Some of them with the 28mm special edition.
Yeah, I think the whole UK supply of 28mm lens was there.
Yeah, and they were all demos. I mean, I don't think that they were samples. People couldn't take away their pictures at the end of the day unless they were doing the photo noir session, and then they didn't have the 28mm on display. So I wondered if they were pre-production 28mm. That was my thought.
Well, yes and no. I mean, we are getting small shipments.
Very tiny shipments.
So there are production units available. So you never know. But speaking of 28 kit with ZFC camera, so Nikon Japan issued a notice of delay on that release in Japan. So in that region. So it came out everywhere else, obviously in the world. But Nikon Japan said, well, we're not going to release it yet.
We're not ready yet.
Wait till further notice. So now that further notice came out and they said from 1st of October, we are releasing this kit in Japan. Now, this tells me that potentially the production issues, the shortages or whatever issues they encountered there, potentially have been fixed.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to tell you about the 40mm and 28mm. If that has been fixed,
then we might actually see some of the stuff that we want.
Absolutely. They're hopefully coming in. I personally think if you're thinking of ordering one now, then I would say potential estimate would be maybe just before Christmas or around Christmas time. Is it too optimistic?
I'd love it. I'd be so happy. I have some news for you. Shocked, horrified. Okay. Breaking news. Nikon Store, which is based in Europe, now offer the different color options of the ZFC to the European and UK public.
Drum roll.
Now, just to point out that they say pre-order for these different colors and the shipping date is the 15th of October 2021. The Nikon Store is fully based in Europe. It has nothing to actually do with Nikon UK at all. It's a completely different separate entity. So if you are in the UK, you can absolutely order it from there, but I have no idea what the implications are in terms of VAT.
Well, the price are in UK, so I assume the VAT is included. So
One would think so.
Absolutely. So I don't think that you will encounter this, but it seems like we've all been heard. And while originally Nikon Europe said we only will sell one SKU, so the traditional Panda one, they now introducing the different colored versions. So power to the people.
That's right. So the question is, which color do you want, Con?
Well, Scheisse Brown is my choice.
You can't say that.
A leather tan.
The tan, it's called amber brown. Okay.
I would still call it differently.
Yes.
Okay. Well, what's your choice? What are you going for? Mint green or bubblegum pink?
It's going so well. My choice would actually, if I were to own this camera, I'm like weirdly traditional. I would like a black one.
That's true.
Like but if I wanted one of the fun colorways, I would probably go for the mint green.
Okay.
It's not the color that is Becky's signature color, which is like that kind of cobalt blue.
Okay.
That would be perfect, but they don't have that as an option. So mint green it is for me.
All right. I am kind of split between the tan version. So,
and the beige.
And no, I prefer the darker than lighter one.
What about grey?
The grey looks really good. I would still go for black on black. That would be my choice. It would be this old-fashioned kind of reportage camera.
We want an all-black version.
Exactly, the stealthy edition. But, I think, and I keep talking about this all the time, I think it opens up Nikon to release a special editions of the cameras. Why not? Leica does it.
Yeah.
Everyone else does it.
Yeah.
Release a black version, special edition 3 months later.
For Grays of Westminster.
Absolutely. Exclusive. Exactly.
Us.
So we can even do it ourselves. We just get the Sharpies and,
Yeah, exactly.
And it's all hand painted with a Sharpie.
With love.
But I think personally that it would be interesting. It would be an interesting option to start to release this type of cameras with different editions because as we say, it's a fun camera.
It is. And it's a little bit different. You wouldn't necessarily release a Z6 or a Z7 or any of those kind of cameras in a special edition, but this is a bit different.
Absolutely.
So I think it warrants it. Now, another part of our ZFC news coverage today is that Nikkei Japan said Nikon ZFC has been a hit for the first time in a long time. So it's reportedly doing very well, according to this article in the Japanese press entitled, Nikon ZFC is doing well, a camera that can capture both young people and 50 years old, which is really specific and weird. But anyway, the interchangeable lens camera ZFC released by Nikon on July 23rd, 2021 has been a hit for the first time in a long time, with the company's single lens reflex camera jumping to, I'm correcting them, but anyway, jumping to the third place in the sales in BCN volume ranking.
Yeah, so BCN volume ranking is one that we chose not to report onto because it doesn't really cover much of the Japanese retailers. So we only use it when Nikon is mentioned there. But generally, it just means that we tend to go for CIPA numbers because they just broaden the numbers. So that gives us a better idea what's happening there. But it's good to see it's good to see the camera being recognized as a good release, because when you see the sales jump on the release, that means a lot of people want one.
Exactly. So it shows ZFC is at the top place for the best-selling camera in August. This is from Map Camera.
Absolutely. So Map Camera is one of the dealers.
Yes,
so
that's right.
I've been there. I bought my X Pro 1 from them.
There you go.
Back in the day.
Second place is the Canon EOS
R6?
R6.
Yeah, never heard of one, but
No, I
go.
know it, but I was just like, oh, really?
Is it a color printer or black and white?
It's a photo printer. And then the third option, the third best-selling camera is the Nikon Z6 II.
Yeah, it seems like Z6 is one of the very well-selling cameras in Japan at the moment.
Yes. And we're also starting to see some third-party accessories being announced for the ZFC. For example, Smallrig announced a new L-shaped grip and half case with strap for the ZFC. Oh, for God's sakes. See, the coffee kicked in and then it took over.
So you're on my time now.
Smallrig announced a new L-shaped grip and half case with strap for the ZFC.
All right, have a look at them.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's not bad actually. It's reminded me of one of the old vintage cases. So it's not bad. If you can't buy a leather 10 ZF, you can just buy a case for it.
Exactly.
And then obviously the L-shaped ring, it's got a little bump at the front. So for people who complain that the ZFC is gripless, you can always buy one. And we still don't know if the grip from Nikon is going to be released in the UK. So
yes,
this is an option, and it's probably a little bit cheaper, but it also allows you to mount it on arc Swiss adapter, not just in horizontal position, but also vertical, which is quite nice to have.
That's very handy, because I can assure you that the Nikon plate probably won't allow you to do that.
Absolutely. You also have access to the battery and the memory card, and you also have a cold shoe at the bottom.
I saw that. I thought that's really handy.
Yeah, well, for vloggers of the world, if you want to
us.
touch your... Exactly. Well, we filmed with iPhone and the wireless mics at Photo London. And the main problem we have is, obviously, we want to get a better audio quality, so we use wireless mics, which plugged into the phone. However, the receiver would have to hang. And for using, let's say, a very light stabilizer, which doesn't allow the support of heavier cages, it would just make the kind of phone a little bit heavier and it would struggle a bit. So how do you do that? Well, the L plate would be an answer.
Yes, for sure.
I don't remember last time any camera, like by any other brand, that's had a kind of tsunami of third-party accessories being released so quickly.
Yeah, it usually takes at least a good 6 months for us to start seeing things. So this is very encouraging. Right, next up, Nikon released a firmware update for the D6. This is version 1.32, and it fixed an issue that in very rare instances resulted in the shutter not being released when the shutter release button was pressed during consecutive shots of a portrait subject.
Very interesting. I wonder if that happened during the Olympics and it got flagged somehow.
Yeah, because if you're not able to take shots in portrait mode, that's a bit weird.
You don't have the shot then.
No.
I agree.
It's actually terrible.
What I really like, Bax, and I keep saying this again and again, that I really like that actually they keep updating D6 pretty much on a monthly basis.
Yes. Which is good. They're listening to the feedback and also fixing bugs and making sure that the D6 is still relevant. I've actually in the last couple of days had several people saying, look, I need the best camera possible for sports work now that things are starting to, now that we're seeing sporting events again. And the D6 is it. I mean, It really is. It has everything that the sort of discerning sports photographer needs.
Absolutely. Now, remember when we talked about the Z7 and Z6 firmware update for real-time tracking? For the Mark II versions. So that has been rumored to be released in September.
Yes.
That didn't pan out. And I think the reason for that has been the Z9 release, which is not here yet.
Yeah, okay.
So I think that a lot of people ask us about this, and I think that once we start to hear more about Z9, that's then we'll start to see the kind of talk about those features being implemented into Z7, Z6 cameras. So I'd assume so that if we don't, let's say if you won't see any announcement in September, then we probably will start to see it around October, November time.
Okay. All right, next up, Nikon Japan officially discontinued the Coolpix B600, which was announced originally on December 23rd, 2020.
Less than a year.
Less than a year's life on that little Coolpix camera. Apparently it will be discontinued due to uncertain future parts supply. I have thoughts about things like that.
Yeah.
Because I wonder, I mean, it makes sense from a manufacturing point of view if you don't know when you're going to ever be able to get parts for something. But we, for example, last week had a flurry of D3500 and D5600 stock delivery arrive.
They just appeared.
They just appeared after 8 months of nothing.
Yeah, do you think they found the stash in the warehouse?
Well, my question is, okay, yes, my thought would have been that they discontinued that camera. I mean, you kept saying like, no, I don't want them to discontinue it because it's still relevant and it still has
Well, there's no Z30, so you need to have a product that fills that space, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very true. But I wonder if this is going to be the route for things that they can no longer supply parts for. Maybe they'll look at things and go, this product is not actually worth us continuing. We're better off taking the parts that, if we can ever get them, we put them to something else. Do you see what I mean?
Well, a couple of things here. I think they looked at the sales figures, and obviously if it doesn't justify the production, then they, and you can't get the parts, then they just made a decision. Yes, it's a hard decision, but say, let's cut this product. Yeah. But also it almost tells me that semiconductors shortage is real.
Yeah, it is very much real. Have you tried to buy any scanners or routers or modems or anything recently? You can't get any of it.
And graphics card, perhaps.
So also Nikon temporarily suspended taking orders of some other products, including the EH5D, which is the AC adapter for most cameras that take the Enel 15.
Okay.
Wireless Speedlight SBR200, the whole SBR1C1 kit, and the SU800. So they've said this is due to a delay in part supply, and they will start to take orders again as soon as the situation improves.
Okay, we've read the similar things before to other products, so it seems like the shortage continues. Now, for people who need a macro setup for the brand new 50 or 105 lenses, then have a look if you can get a second-hand one, see if anyone has a stock. But also Godox will be releasing some sort of repo for R1C1 units. Really? So yeah, that's been, it's almost looked like a SU800 unit. So have a look at that. Not sure how good they are, but there will be something available. Unfortunately, not from Nikon. And unfortunately, the time is really bad because obviously macro lenses came out, just recently.
Yes.
Fingers crossed, hopefully the situation improves.
Yes, absolutely.
A few more news from Japan. Nikon Museum in Tokyo launched a special exhibition called Nikon F2 50th Anniversary Cine Nikko.
Interesting. So the Nikon F2, which celebrates its 50th anniversary this year since its launch in 1971, is said to be the pinnacle of mechanical cameras and still attracts many camera fans, which is Very true. In this exhibition, in commemoration of the 50th anniversary of the birth of the F2, they are going to show camera 7100001.
Is that the first one?
That's the first one. It will be exhibited, and they will also show the Nikon F2 Titanium Umura Special, which I actually didn't know the existence of until just now.
Me neither.
It was developed for the world-famous adventurer Naomi Umura, and the photo panels that Umura actually took with the same camera are on display. So it's also part photography and part gear exhibit, which I really like.
How interesting.
In addition, focusing on the systematic characteristics of the F2, they are going to exhibit about 20 F2s in combinations with various accessories, including speed lights and motor drives and data backs. Now, unknown cine nickel. So cine nickel is the name of a movie camera lens manufactured by Nikon, which was then at the time Nippon Kogaku Kogyo, which was prototyped more than 80 years ago. And after the war, it was exported to the US in large numbers and was used in the first domestically produced 8mm cine camera.
Do you think Stanley Kubrick had one?
You know what? It's entirely possible.
He had them all.
Yeah. Yeah. So although there are many challenging specifications and unique shapes, their popularity is not high compared to nickel lenses for single lens reflex cameras, obviously. This exhibition focuses on this unknown cine nickel and exhibits about 30 prototypes from the museum's collection. They'll also be screening videos shot with the cine zoom nickel f2.2 12 to 120 millimeter. Along with a Z7. The last sentence makes no sense. So they're going to put this cine lens on a Z7
via some sort of gizmo.
Crazy.
FTZ2 perhaps. You never know.
Wild. Okay.
But tell me, Bex, what's your favorite F2? Are you like the plain kind of person? I just, like a non-metered prism, or you are F2A or AS or is B?
The F2, to be honest, the F2 plain prism, yes, is my favorite of all of them. I know that Gray's favorite is the F2SB of all of them. And that's not even the latest one. The very last iteration, which is the F2AS, is probably the most reliable meter of
That's
them all.
true. That's true. My favorite is bubblegum pink one. No, I'm the same. I'm classy. I just go for plain prism.
Yeah, something really pretty about a plain prism Nikon F2. It just...
Yes.
Just very nice.
Mwah.
Mwah.
Well, if you're in Tokyo from 31st of August till 26th of February 2022, come and visit Nikon Museum in Tokyo.
Yes, we should go.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not?
I'd love to.
Let us out of the country.
Yeah, exactly. All right, next up, Nikon received the Red Dot Award Brands and Communication Design 2021 for NX Studio.
Imagine that.
Wow. The Red Dot Design Award is a world-class design competition. It has approximately 65 years of history. The Red Dot Award Brands and Communication Design 2021 was judged by a panel of recognized design specialists from around the world on aspects such as degree of idea, quality, innovation, and brand identity.
Absolutely. And I'm really glad that someone actually used Nikon NX Studio software.
Well, there you go.
Speaking of Nikon Europe, Nikon announces 4 new European ambassadors.
Julian Harvey, who is the head of marketing for Nikon Northern Europe, who we have met, says, "We're honored to have these titans of photography and videography join the Nikon family. Not only do they create work of astounding quality, they're all extraordinary storytellers focused on bringing their perceptions and thought-provoking subjects to life. They believe, as we do, that photography has a unique power to change how we understand our world." Now, the ambassadors for this round for Europe are Konstantin, Morten Hilmer, Freudis Gaithus, and Nigel Danson.
Fantastic reading, Becky.
Thank you.
All great photographers. Absolutely agree. All right. Well, let's do a bit of financial news again. Well, you see, I think it's important
Yes, it's fine.
to know what company and what financial position it is. And I'm saying it again. I'm not repeating myself at all.
No.
It's a bit of news. It's nothing exciting really, but all they say is we plan to sell some stock.
Cool.
That's all it is. So company plans to sell 2 million shares of JEOL Limited to improve asset efficiency and strengthen their financial position. So Nikon currently has 4,300,000 shares of this company. Who is JEOL UK? Yeah, so they are supplier of scientific equipment. Company makes scanning electron microscopes, scanning probe microscopes, transmission electrodes. So basically they do All of them. You name microscope, they do them.
Mass spectrometers, you name it.
Exactly.
They measure it. They make it to measure things.
Absolutely. And what I like about them, that they're UK based, at least there's a UK in their name. So this is really cool. So they say we have 4,300,000 shares and we plan to sell 2 million of them. This, we're going to plan to sell from today till the rest of financial year. And then whatever we're going to sell, we're going to recognize that profit in our paperwork at the end of the year. We also plan to hodl the rest of the shares.
Hodl?
Yes.
What does that mean?
Not hold, hodl. You know it, I know it, we hodl.
I don't know what hodl means. Anyway.
All right, back to Nikon related news.
Yeah, so Tamron actually, rather than Nikon. But anyway, Tamron released a new firmware for the Tamron SP 90mm f2.8 DI macro.
Digital?
Yeah, probably. Macro 1:1 VC USD lens, which should solve compatibility issues with the Nikon Z cameras. So unfortunately, to do the firmware update, you do have to send your lens directly to Tamron via its distributors, but you can't upgrade it yourself.
Yeah, so basically what that means is you couldn't use that 90mm lens on Z mount cameras. So a lot of people were waiting for 3 years and after Z6 came out. And finally, they found a solution. So yeah, if you do still have that lens, you can send it directly to Tamron or via whoever you bought it from, and they'll upgrade it for you.
Bob's your uncle.
Yeah. All right. A bit of a rumor, perhaps.
Industry chatter indicates that Sigma are in talks with both Nikon and Canon in Japan to have a license to actually create lenses for the Z mount and the Canon mirrorless mount.
Exciting.
It would be exciting because they already make lenses for the Sony mirrorless mount and Leica.
That's true.
So if you think about it, and Sigma's lenses have... their whole ethos has changed quite considerably in the last sort of decade. They have sort of changed the way that they release their lenses, how they produce them.
That's true. Back in the day, Sigma was like, oh, there's just a cheaper thing and they're not amazing quality, etc., etc. And then the art lenses came out and that's just changed everything.
Yeah, so the CEO retired, passed the company down to his son. His son had a vision and it basically turned into a quality over quantity sort of operation. They now have one factory in Japan. They try and keep things as small as possible. They've been very, very clever in terms of supply as well. So they haven't been majorly affected by COVID or by Brexit or by anything, which is fantastic. So in terms of business sense, though, we would love it if Nikon would give them the go ahead to do something like that because there are 20 lenses in the Sony mount made by Sigma.
They can adapt
literally
to Nikon protocols, right?
Exactly. Could literally just slap on a mount. I know it's a bit more technical than that, but still.
Sigma is not reverse engineering the autofocus system.
No.
So they're licensing it.
Exactly. They don't do things that way. They've been quite smart and selective about who they want to work with as well, which I think, I mean, if you think about it, Leica's own store in London stocks Sigma lenses for the Leica mount. So it would be very clever on Nikon's part to align themselves with that because it means that more people will buy into the Z system.
Absolutely. We talk a lot about third-party lenses being released for Nikon Z mount. So, but all of those players, they're quite small.
Yeah.
So to bring someone as big as Sigma to the table, that I think will be a huge advantage for Nikon as well because you just open up all your lineup to a lot of people because then the more the merrier, isn't it? The more choice you have, the more people will buy into the system. And obviously, from the point of Sigma, they've seen that the Z system is actually selling quite well. So there is a financial sense to start to release lenses for this platform, isn't it?
For sure.
Well, obviously, this is a rumor at this stage. We don't know when and what's going to happen. But if this happens, who knows? Maybe Tamron will also follow the trend. That Tamron just released the Fuji XF mount lenses. So that happened just recently. So who knows? Maybe they will follow the trend as well.
True. Next up, the new Viltrox 35mm 1.8 AF for Z mount is now available for pre-order. So this is an example of one of those companies that has reverse engineered the Z mount to create their lens. This one actually is an autofocus lens, unlike most of those third-party lenses. It's going to be constructed with 10 elements in 8 groups.
Well, it's 340 grams and it's priced at $399. So fairly inexpensive, absolutely. So Viltrox now have 24, 35 and 85 1.8 lenses, which all will have autofocus. And this is the reason why we're mentioning them, because it's the only company that has autofocus figured out, or at least reverse engineered for Z mount at this moment. But speaking of 35mm lenses, there's a Venus Optic announced Laowa lens, which is 35mm f/0.95.
Crikey.
Obviously, don't expect miracles from this lens, but it is fairly inexpensive, priced at $899, and it will give you fairly shallow depth of field.
Nice.
Manual focus, though.
Yes.
All right. July CIPA numbers have come out. It's end of September, so probably next week we will talk about September numbers.
Okay.
But I'm not going to talk too much about them, so just real brief. The shipments have slowed down a little bit compared to the last months, but to be honest with you, if you look at the charts, it looks pretty much very similar to the pattern for last year.
Exactly the same.
Absolutely. So it's going to pick up from September onwards, and it's going to increase towards December. Obviously, with caveats of COVID, et cetera, supply, semiconductor shortage, et cetera. So it's good, it's happening, it pretty much performs similar to last year. Let's move on.
Photography show.
Oh yes, for us and UK viewers.
Yes.
In Birmingham this week, there will be a photography show held, isn't it? So in NEC Centre, which is near the airport.
This is going to be one of the, considering that the photography show is the biggest photography show, I mean, the show based around photographers in the UK. And this is the first one that we've been able to have in 2 years.
That's true. They had a virtual gatherings.
Yeah, exactly. This is going to be quite interesting for us. So there is actually a speaker schedule that has been announced for the Nikon stand. Nikon always have a very prominent place at the photography show. It's a whole production. They have panelists. It's a thing. It's a really big thing.
Absolutely. There's entertainment. There's clowns. Unicycles.
And jugglers.
Jugglers with 0.95 lenses.
So they will be hosting a roster of photography talks on the Nikon School stage. Photographers taking a spot include maternity photographer Tiana Williams, wildlife photographer Harry Skeggs, who was at Photo London
That's
the other
true.
day.
We met him,
Wedding photographer Gurveer Johal, wildlife photographer Andy Parkinson, landscape photographer Nigel Danson, who is one of the newest Nikon ambassadors for Europe. Wedding photographer Freudis Gasis, who's also...
who is ambassador, new ambassador.
Yeah. Portrait photographer Carolyn Mendelssohn, who was also at Photo London this week just gone. And video production company Beyond Content, who will be discussing techniques for creating outstanding video content with the Z series.
Yeah, and Neil Freeman and Richie Sherry is going to be there as well.
Big up to Neil and Rishi. Woo!
Whoop, whoop.
We will try, and we have asked if we can come round with our little camera and have a little chat with them on the days.
Steal him for an hour, both of them.
I don't know if we'll be able to steal them for a full hour, but we'll certainly try and have a few minutes of their time. They are going to be very, very busy. If you would like to visit the stand, if you're coming to the photography show, you can visit the Nikon stand at B600. And it's on between the 18th and the 21st of September. So that is this coming weekend, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. It's in the NEC in Birmingham. And all Nikon staff will be following COVID safety measures in line with government guidelines.
Just a reminder for everyone, obviously with all the events in UK, they will check for vaccination or other things, so, PCR tests, etc. So if in doubt, go to Photography Show website. All the things that they will check for at the entry are there. So just have a look at that. And we will be there ourselves on Monday. So we will try to fill some content around it, isn't it?
We'll do our best.
Yeah. And I don't think you need to know the number of the Nikon stand because it's probably going to be quite big.
You'll come in and it'll just be like, Nikon.
Yes. Who knows? Z9 in a glass box?
Highly unlikely.
Highly unlikely. In conjunction with Photography Show, we also have a discount for Nikon Owner magazine subscription. So that's, what is it, Becky, actually?
It's £10 off of any of your subscriptions. So whether that's a standard electronic, standard printed, or gold, which runs for a couple of years. We've got a few options depending on whether you want the physical magazine or not, but it's £10 off. And for the weekend, up till the Tuesday for the NEC, you just have to put in NEC 10 at the checkout when you go to the Nikon Owner website, and you'll get an immediate £10 off.
Okay, so it's a NikonOwnerMagazine.com, right?
That's the one.
Okay, speaking of other shows, unfortunately, we don't have such positive news. So Photoplus in the United States had been cancelled due to COVID-19 concerns. Also, NAP 2021, big exhibitors like Canon, Sony, and Panasonic pulled out of the show. So it is a little bit on limbo, so we're not 100% sure what's going to happen to NAP this year as well.
Right, now for our reviews.
All right, not many reviews out, but Tom Hogan was as busy as a bee.
He was. I thought we were going to get through the whole podcast without talking about
And here
Tom
we
Hogan.
are. So I got on a train and I just thought, I'm missing something in my life.
Didn't look at Tom's website this
Absolutely. So then I opened Tom Hogan's website and my life has been complete for at least that half an hour.
week. Excellent. So his review begs the question, does the Z7 II fix the sins of the Z7? And I put those in quotations because he's also put them in quotation marks. But he says, sure, somewhat from a practical aspect.
Well, that's a good answer. Let's move on.
Yeah. So his just a very usual Tom kind of to the point review. If you want to go and have a look at that, check out the link in the description box or the podcast notes.
I think the main point is, he said, it's a great camera. However, he said, this is also Z7.
Yeah.
So unless you need USB power delivery, dual card slots, slightly better autofocus performance, bigger buffer, and vertical grips with button on it, then Z7 is a really good proposition price-wise. And he thinks that they will probably pull Z7 at some point just because it's such a bargain at that price that it potentially eats into the sales of Z7 Mark II.
Fair enough. We also have... Is it also by Tom?
Yes. It's all by Tom today.
So our next review by Tom is the better case of the MBN 11, and he's given a very straightforward review of the MBN 11 battery group, which only works with the Z6 II and Z7 II. It does what it says on the tin, really, so there's not much more to say about that. He has also posted a review on the 50mm f2.8 macro. Incidentally, the next issue of Nikon Owner will have my review of the 50mm f2.8 macro in there.
What are your thoughts?
Well, you're going to have to subscribe and read the article to find out, aren't you?
Okay.
All right, for your weekend read and watch segment.
And we're not going to talk about ZFC review by Tom.
Not even going to go there. Right. For your weekend.
Next week, we're going to spend an hour discussing Tom Hogan's ZFC review. Subscribe for that.
He didn't like it. Spoiler alert.
You can buy his book on ZFC directly from his website for $19.99.
Right. For your weekend read and watch segment, we had a busy week. We went to Photo London. I edited the vlog. So it should be great.
So it should be out before this video is. So hopefully I will put the link in there. What are your impressions? Just give us like a 5-second impression.
Of Photo London?
Yes.
I thought it was very inspirational. Honestly, I was really glad that I was there. It was a little bit of a strenuous 2 days because we were there for 2 days and then we had other staff taking on the stand over the weekend. So those shows always are quite exhausting, but I am glad that I went, that I got to see everything, that I got to see the Robert Capa exhibit.
Yeah.
I mean, there was there were great people there, and from the gallerists to the photographers themselves, it was very pleasant.
Absolutely. And it's just nice to meet people after all this time.
I know, it's wild.
You know,
isn't it?
just have this buzz and chatter around, which is quite nice. But also, as you're right, for self-development, you know, we always talk about, you know, equipment and things like this, but it's just nice to see some photography for a change.
It really made me take a step back, actually, and look at, you know, how I view photography and how other people view photography, and how just technical and down to the every little number. The thing about photography is that it is a science and also an art form. So it's one of those weird things where you can get lost in one side or the other. But I think that this really pushed home the art side of photography to me.
It's nice to do a reset every now and then, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Found it very inspirational.
A part of that, we also went to Utah in the United States of America.
By hologram.
Absolutely. And met Comrade Chris Blue, who asked us Why Nikon?
Yeah, I don't know if we gave a satisfactory answer, to be honest, but Chris did talk quite, he really did it justice. So you can check the video out on his YouTube channel, and we have to thank Chris very, very much for having us in the virtual over in Utah with him. We look forward to working with him again very soon.
Absolutely. And the last one is called Capture 121 live stream. Talks, deadlines and delivery. The Tokyo Games with Joe McNally.
Yes. So Joe obviously has been at the Tokyo Olympics, covering it all, using cameras that we're not supposed to mention, but it looks like they're probably the Z9. Did he mention that on his blog? I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah, let's call it Z30. He probably used Z30 because video capabilities apparently are really good.
Yeah. Anyway, and there are some phenomenal shots there on Joe's website, but also have a look at the live stream just because it's always a delight to hear Joe talk.
Absolutely. And for us Lightroom users, let's say, who use Lightroom most of the time, have a look at Capture One as well. So that could potentially give you some tips on trying the new software or maybe even switching. Who knows?
Exactly.
All right. And that's it for today.
Yes. Thank you very much for watching and or listening. Please do give us a like and a subscribe. Or if you are listening on a podcast platform, how about a follow? Maybe even a review. That would help massively.
Yeah, it opens us up to a lot more people. And also Google algorithm thinks that, oh, this video is good. Let me recommend it to more people.
Exactly.
But if we want to find you on the internet, a part of the YouTube channel,
yes,
where can we find you, Becky? At Photo London in the past and at Photography Show in the future.
Next
but
week.
Right now
in the virtual, you can find me on Instagram at Rebecca_Danese, or if you like books, then you can check out book reviews at Rebecca_reads_books. And you?
I don't read books, but I'm also on Instagram and I'm at Konstantin Becky.
Excellent. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you possibly next week for another podcast. Let's see how ruined we are after the photography show.
Absolutely. But whoever goes at photography show on Monday,
come and say hi.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.